Never chase, never beg, never explain. Take a look at the world we live in right now. Everyone, and I mean everyone, is constantly trying to prove something. They're trying to prove they are right. They are trying to prove they are worthy, that they are lovable, or even just that they exist. Have you noticed? People explain, and it's not enough, so they over-explain. And sometimes, just to be seen by someone, just to be validated by someone, they reach the point of begging. But listen to me closely, my friend. A Stoic doesn't do that. That silent warrior, who possesses real strength, does not beg for attention. They do not chase anyone for approval, and most importantly, they do not waste their breath trying to explain themselves to the world, because they have cracked a very fundamental secret. Silence is strength. What do most people do? When they are hurt, rejected, or misunderstood, they panic. They rush. They try to fix what is broken by explaining themselves to people who have already sworn not to understand them. Look, that isn't courage. That is weakness disguised as courage. You know the scenario, don't you? Maybe you've lived it. You call someone, they don't pick up. You call again, then a text. Then another text asking, "Did you see my last message?" And finally, hoping to remind that person of your worth, you write a long essay-like paragraph and hit send. But here is the bitter truth. The more you explain, the more you hit that send button, the more power you lose. Every time you look at that phone, you are taking a piece of your self-worth and putting it in their pocket. And that is not a Stoic stance. Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, these men mastered the power of silence. Was it because they didn't care? No. On the contrary, it was because they understood this truth very well. The more we value things outside our control, the less control we have over ourselves. As Epictetus said, when you chase someone's attention or beg for them to understand you, do you know what you are actually doing? You are handing them control on a silver platter. You are saying, "My peace depends on the response you give me." But that is not peace. That is a prison. And you are handing the key to that prison to someone who doesn't even care about you. Do you know what real strength is? When someone disrespects you, when someone ignores you, being able to turn your back and walk away without saying a single word. You don't do this out of arrogance. You don't do this out of pride, either. You do this because your dignity doesn't scream. Your honor doesn't chase anyone. Your quality doesn't have to explain itself. It simply and nobly withdraws. This silence is not emptiness. It is discipline. It is self-respect. It is that deep voice inside you saying, "I do not need you to hear me in order to hear myself." And believe me, this silence terrifies people. Because when you don't react, when you don't create the drama they expected, they realize they have lost control over you. Today, we are going to talk about exactly this kind of silence. Not the kind that is weakness, but the kind that builds power. The silence that makes people ask, "What changed?" The silence that makes your absence louder than any message you could ever send. I am going to break down 6 deep truths for you, 6 reasons why silence is a superpower. Once you understand these 6 points, you will never chase anyone, never beg anyone, and never explain yourself to anyone again. If you are tired of giving, tired of being misunderstood, if you've ever chased someone who walked away from you, this is your turning point. Let this video be the signal flare you didn't know you needed. Before we start, like this video to welcome the silent power joining our ranks. And I want you to write this in the comments. Let this be our password. My silence is my power. If you are ready, let's start with number 1. Number 1. Silence makes them feel your absence, not hear your words first. Silence doesn't make them hear your words. It makes them feel your absence. Have you ever noticed something strange? Whenever you stop explaining yourself, whenever you stop chasing them, people suddenly start thinking. That is the paradox of silence, my friend. It doesn't push, it pulls. I want you to think about the last time you got hurt. Maybe someone ghosted you, just vanished into thin air. Maybe they disrespected you or gave you the cold shoulder. What did your instincts scream at you? Say something. Fight back. Defend your worth. Tell them how much they hurt you. Your brain is playing tricks on you. Because, here's the truth. The more you talk, the less they listen. The more you chase, the faster they run. The more you explain, the more the value of your words drops. Economics 101. The more money you print in a market, the less that money is worth. Words are the same. Albert Hubbard has a magnificent quote. He who does not understand your silence will probably not understand your words. The Stoics figured this out thousands of years ago. Because silence makes people uncomfortable in ways that noise never can. When you go silent on someone who expected you to beg, who expected you to fight, when you withdraw instead of react, you force them to confront something very difficult. Their own actions. See, silence is a mirror. That mirror screams at the person across from you. I saw what you did. I felt how you treated me. But I value myself too much to even bother explaining this to you. This isn't ego. This is clarity. You realize this? If they got it, they would ask. If they respected you, they would reach out. If they had emotional maturity, they wouldn't need those long paragraphs you write to understand your worth. So, you stay silent. And in that silence, you reclaim all the power you once gave away for free. You stop wasting energy trying to explain yourself to people who don't even understand themselves. Yes, this is hard, because your silence will trigger them. It will confuse them. They will start asking themselves, why isn't he reacting? Why didn't she send that long text? Does he not care anymore? That is the moment the balance of power shifts. Because silence speaks the one truth they cannot ignore. You no longer owe them an explanation. Number 2. When you stay silent, you hear the truth louder. Number 2. When you stay silent, you hear the truth louder. The world is very loud. Notifications, opinions, criticisms, advice. But silence teaches you to listen, not to others, but to yourself. In moments of heartbreak, betrayal, or confusion, what do most people do? They immediately run to others. They want advice, they want validation, or they want a temporary fix to numb that immediate pain. You call 5 different friends. You tell the same story 5 times. You scrolled for hours on social media to numb your brain. You even go to confront the person who hurt you, thinking that if you make the right speech, the wrong person will change. But a Stoic does something radically different. Ego is silent. Not because he doesn't feel pain, but because he knows that real answers don't come from noise. They come from deep thought, from reflection. Marcus Aurelius said, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. And this you have the power to revoke at any moment." When you get silent, truly silent, when you put the phone away and you are left alone with the ceiling, the mind calms down. And when the mind calms down, those painful truths start to rise to the surface. The mud at the bottom settles, and the water becomes clear. In that silence, you begin to hear things like, "Actually, they never respected me. I just didn't want to accept it." Or, "I'm not angry because they left. I'm angry at myself because I stayed too long." My friend, these truths don't come to you in a WhatsApp message. These truths come in the quiet hours when you stop explaining yourself and start listening to yourself. Silence gives you the space to separate your emotions from your values. Because when you are hurt, your emotions scream. Chase them. Explain yourself. Prove it. But when you remain silent, your values whisper. Hold your dignity. Protect your peace. Let them go. This is why the Stoics never reacted quickly. They didn't make decisions in anger. They embraced a sacred stillness, like the quiet wait before a storm. Modern society teaches you the exact opposite, doesn't it? Pour your heart out. Speak your truth. Don't let anyone disrespect you. But here is what most people miss. You don't gain respect by screaming louder. You gain respect by standing grounded in silence while everyone else is spiraling in noise. The more silent you are, the more people reveal themselves. You don't have to ask, "Does he care about me?" Their actions show it. You don't have to beg for clarity. The truth comes out in your stillness. Number 3, Begging for closure is self-betrayal. Number 3 is about the trap perhaps most of us fall into most often. The fact that begging for closure is actually a betrayal of yourself. Let's be honest with each other. When something ends, when a relationship breaks, or a door is slammed in your face, what does that voice inside you want? It wants that final conversation. It wants the answer to the question why. You want them to sit across from you and put everything on a logical ground. You don't want the story to be left hanging. You want a period at the end of the sentence. But here is the brutal truth, my friend. If someone truly cared about you, they would have already given you that closure out of respect. If they aren't giving it, their lack of an answer is the answer itself. Your silence is the closer you are looking for. Epictetus says, "Don't explain your philosophy, embody it." This quote might seem unrelated at first, but in relationships, this is exactly the case. When you chase that closure conversation, you are actually doing this. You are putting the key to your own healing process into the pocket of the person who wounded you. Do you realize how dangerous this is? You are expecting the person who broke you to fix you. The cycle is always the same. 1. They hurt you. 2. You demand answers. You ask, "Why did you do this?" 3. They act cold, give evasive answers, or blame you. 4. You feel even more worthless. And this cycle continues until you wake up. The awakening is this: closure is not a gift they give you. Closure is a gift you give yourself. When you slam that door and walk away without looking back, you have created closure. It is very easy to convince yourself, "If I just explain my feelings one last time, they'll understand," you say. "If I make them look through my window, they'll regret it," you say. No, they won't. They won't, because you are trying to explain yourself to someone who has already made peace with hurting you. You are trying to open a court of appeals to someone who has already made their final verdict. You are wasting energy on the wrong person to fix your broken expectations. This isn't a search for closure. This is self-abandonment. Real closure is this: accepting that what they gave you was the absolute most they were capable of giving. Understanding that no matter how long of an explanation you give, you cannot transform them into a more respectful, more loving, or more honest person. Stopping to wait for a conversation that will never happen. The people who hurt you don't need to understand your worth. It is enough that you understand it. The people who left don't need to say goodbye. You can make that farewell without saying a single word. The people who ghosted you don't need a second chance. Your silence is their answer. So stop writing those unsent letters. Stop rehearsing that perfect final speech in your head. Do not expect openness from people who are already closed. Go silent, and let your silence be the safe space where your self-respect finally breathes again. Number 4. Silence exposes what words try to hide. Let's get to number 4. Silence exposes everything that words try to hide. When you go silent, something powerful, almost magical happens. Masks fall off. Words are beautiful. Yes, you write poems. You sing songs. You win hearts. But words are also very dangerous illusionists. People say what sounds right. They say what you want to hear. Excuses, justifications, apologies. These are all costumes made of words. But silence cannot lie. Remember that magnificent quote by Ralph Waldo Emerson? "What you do speaks so loudly that I cannot hear what you say." The Stoics didn't judge people by their apologies. They judged people by their patterns, their behavioral molds. And do you know the best way to see someone's true face, their true mold? Stop talking and just watch. Because silence is not a passive act. Silence is active observation. When you stop explaining yourself, you give the person across from you a stage to reveal their true nature. And trust me, they will use that stage. The person who truly respects you gets worried by your silence, feels your absence, and reaches out to you with sincerity. They say, "Is something wrong? I was worried about you." But the person who is just using you, they evaporate because you are no longer supplying them with energy. The person manipulating you, they get angry or confused, not because you did something wrong, but because the control buttons they have on you no longer work. Here is what most people don't realize. Words create illusions. Silence reveals reality. You don't need to confront them. You don't need to test them. Just withdraw your words and watch. Who asks how you are when you are quiet? Who disappears when you stop giving? Who tries to provoke you when you don't react? This is the truth. Yes, it is brutal, but it is necessary. Sometimes silence hurts more than 1,000 arguments, because people can deny your words. They can argue with you. They can say, "I didn't mean that." But they cannot argue with your absence. They cannot refute your stillness. When you stay silent, you stop feeding the illusion they created. You stop putting coins into their emotional games. You stop believing the lie that their words are more valuable than their actions. And this kind of silence brings you clarity. You no longer ask why they treated you badly, because their silence, their distance, and their actions have already given the answer. You start trusting energy over words. You value what is real, not what is spoken. This is Stoicism. This isn't coldness. It is clarity. It isn't being distant. It is being selective. It isn't emotionlessness. It is emotional discipline. So the next time someone tries to re-enter your life with word games, don't rush to reply. Just observe. Stay silent and let the truth speak. Number 5. Not explaining yourself is the highest form of confidence. Let's move to number 5. Not explaining yourself is the highest form of confidence. Let's be honest, being misunderstood hurts. When someone gets the wrong idea about you, you want to scream. No, I'm not that kind of person. You want to defend your character, prove your innocence. You feel like you are in a courtroom and the judge is accusing you unfairly. But a Stoic mind does not wait for understanding from others. It seeks understanding within itself. Why? Because trying to explain yourself to people who have already made up their minds is not confidence. It is the fear of being misjudged. What did Marcus Aurelius say? Don't waste the rest of your life speculating about your neighbors. Think about this. Every moment you try to prove your worth, your good intentions, or your loyalty to someone, you are sacrificing your limited time and energy to someone else's judgment. This is not power. This is insecurity. The person who doesn't explain themselves is not arrogant. They are at peace because they know their intentions are clean. They know their actions are consistent. They know their value does not need to be translated for people who do want to understand it. Look, this level of detachment isn't easy. They will accuse you of being cold. They will label you selfish. You might even lose people you once felt close to. But let me tell you a secret. Losing people who never truly saw you is not a loss. It is an alignment. It is life getting back on track. No one wants to admit it, but the truth is this. Most people don't want to understand you. Most people just want to control how you are perceived. And when your silence breaks their control, they get angry. Not because you hurt them, but because you broke their game. When you stop explaining, you start leading with your energy. You stop justifying your distance. You stop explaining why you left. You stop defending your peace. You simply do what you need to do. And the people who are meant to be in your life will understand that silence without needing subtitles. This kind of energy is rare. It makes people uncomfortable. It makes manipulators lose interest. It causes those who want to use you to run away. But those who remain, they respect you deeply because they know you will not lower your value to fit someone else's misunderstanding. This is Stoic silence. Not loud, not desperate, not theatrical, just calm, rooted, and unshakable. You don't owe anyone an explanation for choosing peace. You don't have to convince anyone that your boundaries are valid. In rooms where your silence has already said everything, you don't need to spend your worth by talking. Number 6. Your detachment is the lesson, and we have arrived at the 6th and final point. Your silent withdrawal is the greatest lesson you can teach them. There is a very powerful aura around a person who makes their choice and walks away. An aura that others don't have. I am talking about someone who leaves not in anger, not with drama, not by slamming doors, but with a silent detachment. You don't send one final emotional text. You don't blame, you simply exit that space, that relationship, that situation, and in that silence, You teach a lesson that no words ever could. Seneca says, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." This quote is critical here, because when you stop responding, you leave the other person alone with their own imagination. They are left alone with their thoughts, their guilt, and the memory of how you treated them. The echo of your absence starts ringing in their rooms. Your silent attachment says this: "I no longer need to prove myself to you. I will not stay where I am not respected. And I've realized that my peace is more valuable than this bond I have with you." Most people don't know how to handle this kind of energy. What are they used to? People who react, people who beg, people who fight for closure, people who have a breakdown just to be heard. But when you go silent, you break the game. You step off the stage. You exit without breaking their dignity, but by protecting your own. And this silence forces them to confront themselves. They expected you to chase. They expected you to fight. They expected you to come back. But you didn't. And this is more terrifying than any argument. Because in that moment they realize they no longer have access to your energy. That faucet is turned off. They don't have the upper hand. They didn't think you would actually leave. That is the moment the lesson begins. Because people don't learn from words, my friend. People learn from distance. People learn from absence. They don't change when you scream, "Respect me." They change if they ever will when your absence smacks them in the face with what they have lost. And if they don't change, that's okay, too. Because this lesson wasn't for them. This lesson was for you. You learned this. You don't need permission from anyone for your peace. You learned this. Not everyone deserves an explanation. You learned this. Sometimes silence is not just a show of strength. It is a healing process. When you detach silently, you remove yourself from toxic cycles. You stop bleeding in front of people who don't have the capacity to understand pain. You stop trying to explain the storm to people living indoors. Detachment doesn't mean you don't care. It means you care about your own soul so much that you do not want to keep it in a place where it is being neglected anymore. This is why the Stoics were not reactive. They didn't chase justice or seek revenge. They didn't wait for validation. They let silence speak for them. You don't have to scream, "I'm done, I'm leaving." You can just be done. You can just leave. That is real power. And the silence that terrifies those who thought they controlled you is exactly this. So don't be afraid to detach. Go silent. And let them sit in the void where your voice used to be. Outro and call to action. If you have listened this far, you are already feeling that shift. Something is stirring inside you. A quiet realization. Maybe a truth you always knew, but forgot along the journey. You don't have to chase, beg, or explain yourself to be worthy. You don't need to make noise to be heard. You don't need to prove your side to be understood. You don't need to destroy your own peace just to make someone else comfortable. This is the foundation of Stoicism. Not coldness, but clarity. Not detachment from love, but detachment from chaos. Silence is not weakness. It is control. It is the refusal to waste energy on things beneath your level. It is the immense confidence that comes from knowing you are valuable even when your presence is gone. There will be moments when your emotions want to take control. Moments when you burn with the urge to explain, to fight, to prove. But in those moments, remember this: your silence might not win you the argument in that moment, but it will win you back yourself. Because every time you choose not to react, you build inner peace. Every time you walk away quietly, you build Every time you protect your dignity, you build that real power that no one can steal. If you take just one thing from this video, let it be this. Let your silence be your final word. Not out of ego, not out of spite, but out of deep, unshakable self-respect. If you have watched this far, this doesn't just mean you finished a video. It means you are ready to open a new page in your own mind. You know, you don't have to walk this path alone. We are a huge family here, discovering the power of silence in a noisy world. If what I have told you touched your soul, I have 3 small requests from you. First, click the like button. This isn't just an algorithm thing. This is the digital way of saying, I received this information and I accepted it. Second, share this video. Maybe you have a friend with a broken heart right now, a friend being bullied at work, or a relative who just feels misunderstood. Send this video to them. Give them the power of silence too. Sometimes a single share can change someone's life. And third, subscribe and turn on the bell, because every week here, we will continue to talk about Stoic wisdom against the chaos of the modern world and continue to forge our minds like steel. You don't want to miss this journey. Now, I want you to go down to the comments and seal this promise by writing this sentence. My silence is my most powerful answer. Take care of yourself, Stoic friend. Until we meet next week, stay with silence and stay with power.